Welcome, everybody. Such a pleasure to be here with you one more time. Thank you for all of you to tapping in and for the new ones too. Super, super welcome. Today's episode will be about healing ancestral trauma. And before we start, let's breathe a little bit together just to be in the space with one another, okay? And then it's also an opportunity to be in the space with you, right? If you've been having a busy day or a busy week or a busy month or year, whatever it is, like taking this time, these 3 breaths together just to be here, to land here, and to receive any messages that are meant to come through you through this beautiful transmission, yeah? So I invite you to close your eyes so that feels safe for you. If not, just gaze at one point in front of you, just gently. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth, letting it go. Let's do it 2 more times. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth, letting it go. Last time, deep inhale through the nose. Hold the breath. Soften. Soften the back of the heart, the front of the heart, the throat, the yoni, the diaphragm, navel. And exhale. And just keeping the eyes closed, beginning to breathe, paying attention to your inner world, paying attention to how you feel this moment in time, witnessing you. Soy retake sarenina namakaike sitasa. Knowing that you are beautiful as you are. Soy retake sorenina namakaike sitasa. Knowing that you are a big celebration of life. Soy retake suteka namake sitasa nakisi. Knowing that you do make a difference in this world and this planet. Soiteka suteka noire sane makaike sitasa. Staying in stillness for a bit. Beginning to invite gentle movements on the fingers, your toes, maybe your neck, jaw, shoulders. Maybe even doing a stretch, like a morning stretch, cracking. And whenever you're ready, you can come back and open up your beautiful eyes. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I have been so inspired, honestly, by my own ancestors and reconnecting to my roots that this topic, of ancestral healing and just welcoming this wisdom, this indigenous wisdom, has been so strong in my field. And I know it's also very strong in the field of other brothers and sisters. And so if you have been experiencing something so deep, like a deep pain, a deep anxiety, or one of those really intense, uncomfortable emotions and feelings, I feel for you and know that we're in this together, yeah? You're not alone, even though it might feel like it is, right? And I've been sitting so much with my life, the meaning of my life, right? But not just for me, but what does it mean for me to be alive? And how does that even have some kind of ripple effect into my ancestors, into my lineage, right? So not necessarily into like the work that I'm doing right now for like the outside of me and in this current reality, but the work that is happening inside of me into other realities that I didn't get to experience, but in a way I did experience through my ancestors, even the ones that I don't even know their names, the ones didn't even know I will come and be alive when they were in physical form, but now they do. It's such a beautiful reconnection to that part of myself and that part of life, and if it's happening to me, I know that it can't just be like this field, it's like the field of other ones as well. And what a beautiful work, honestly, what a beautiful work. And as we are tapping deeper into this aspect of ourselves, there's this sensation of freedom, of coming back online, of coming back home to ourselves, you know? And even bigger than that, in my experience, coming back home to such loving energies of family that, again, maybe I didn't get to experience that as a kid or as a teenager or young adult, right? Because let's be honest, as humans, we tend to be so busy in our own little bubble that at times we miss the life of others, right? Until we see them older, it's like shit. How did I miss this period where you did not look so old? I don't know if that has happened to you guys, but like, oh my goodness. It's totally happening, and that's my puppy scratching, by the way. If you're seeing that video shaking. Um, Yes, I'm not certain if all of you have experienced that, of some of you, but I remember this period in my life when I was like highly suicidal, and all I could think about is like, how do I get to be alive, you know, and doing the things that, and I thought they were the best for me. And I couldn't be around my family. It was such a big reminder of my own pain, not because of what they had done, but what I was doing to myself, you know. So I disconnected from my family, and then years down the road, when I was looking at videos and photos of like, especially my mom, I was like, oh my gosh, like I miss so much of you. Holy shit, I'm so sorry. And telling myself too, you know, and went to this mourning phase. It's just like, oh, fuck. So that's why, you know, I'm super committed that as long as my parents are alive on this earth in a physical form, because they will continue to be alive, you know, energetically. That I'm so committed to spend as much quality time as I can with them. I'm so committed to go visit them during the holidays, you know, and to travel with them as much as I can whenever they visit my brother or go somewhere else new or visit family in Peru, you know, and it's been so wonderful, honestly, that connection. Ooh, and I feel it in my heart right now. That connection to them, you know, that love to them, but also to myself, right? I'm also giving myself that gift of being with my parents and family, and the reconnection of this energetic map that we all share as family. And so this is really part of my own healing of the ancestors, right? Ancestral healing. And I am particularly called to share part of this deep healing, okay? And I'm doing so because I know also some of my clients were having just this, like, I don't know, it's like I just keep doing it. I don't even know what I'm doing it, and I get so mad at myself, and then I'm just shameful, and you know all these things that happen, right? So like I feel that we all go through that, and so I want to share this because this has been something very deeply in me, very deeply and very vulnerable. That uh, yeah, I was just like, I don't even know what in the world is happening. And it's something that happened really recently. And thanks to one of my amazing soul brothers here in Lawrence, that he was able to hold such a massive space for me that this came through. And then I was like, oh, wow, yes. So honestly, the past month has been like really freaking wild. I'll go up and down in my emotions, you know, and it's not like I have it all figured out, right? I definitely have like my methods. I definitely have tons of tools that I've learned in the past like 13, 15 years, and even beyond that, you know, in other existences and connections with other realms, with other dimensions that like help me as well energetically, you know? So like, so whenever I go through a massive shift, like I got it. You know, it's like, all right, I'm gonna do this. And if it's like super intense, I'll do something else. And if like beyond intense, I'm gonna go to this. Like, you know, I have my steps, right? But it's like, holy moly, what's going on? And so then I will just like, will spike up, you know, in my emotions, like deep pain and deep suffering. And then didn't even know how to control these emotions. It's like almost like they will take over, you know? And then it will be done, and almost like somebody will snap their fingers and I'll come back, and I literally will feel like I just came back. What the hell just happened? And this doesn't happen frequently, honestly. Last time it happened was years ago, where it's like poof, I'm like, oh my gosh, what? And so it was like something that was happening constantly, right? And to the point that I was like, oh my gosh, last time that I felt like this, that I had no idea what was going on, was like in 2000, like, no, 2018, right? Like the year that I left a whole life behind, where I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And my emotional body was just like screaming for help. And so then I was just like, okay, I'm gonna be with it, I'm gonna be with the shit, and I'm gonna be with the not so much shit and the in between, and just hold myself and do everything that I can, right? And at the same time soften. Sometimes like there's nothing that I can do and I just can let the emotions move, right? But like still take care of myself, still do the practices that I normally do, and still like be me and still like do my work, right? Because they're in a way, like I've learned, at least in my experience, I can't just let these deep emotions take over and just crash, and all of a sudden like I'm out for like a freaking month, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I will give you the space, and I will take care of you as much as I can, so I can listen to you and you can listen to me. But there are also things that need to get done, I'm also having this human experience, and sure, I'm very grateful that I get to make my own schedule as well. And there's some times, some days that I don't really have as much time to sit with myself in comparison to other days. And it's freaking awesome how it happens, at least in my field, that it's like my energy snows, like, oh my gosh, we have all this space today. We're gonna go deep. So this emotional thing, I wasn't sleeping very well. I was like in like fight or flight mode at times, and it'll find it very challenging to relax. And at times it's almost like numbness out of like feeling so much this deep emotions of pain, of pain and like deep emotional pain. And and like I said, I kept doing my things, and I went to see one of my brothers. He if you are in the Lawrence area, he's Dale Wheeler. He's amazing, like a super amazing masseuse, right? A massage therapist. But he messaged me that day. He's like, "Hey, I have an idea. How about we try something else besides a massage? I think you will like benefit from it." And it's like that morning I made some cacao. I was like, "Mother, I have no idea. Please just hold me." That's all that I'm asking. And I was walking Sue's to the little forest around nearby. On the way back, that's where he messaged me. And I was like, oh, music to my ears. Thank you so much. And I was like, sure, I'm so down. So, anyways, it's about like it's really like energy work, but like more movement, right? And if you're familiar with inner dance, that's literally how it felt like to me without the inner dance music. And as soon as he touched this part of my foot, because I told him I've been feeling these vibrations intensely in this part of my left foot, and it's going all the way here and all these things, I felt my ancestors. I felt the deep pain of my ancestors. And it was almost like that tiny point just went through my whole body, like my whole left foot, my whole left leg, and my whole body. And I was them. I was their pain. I was their suffering. And immediately I was trancing out. And from there it just continued to move, and they were talking to me, they were saying like, you've been holding all of this, and this is not yours, and like honestly it makes so much sense, because of course I know that part of like my personal experience is very similar to theirs, right? But I was like, how could this body hold so much pain? Like, I'm not understanding, I'm like I said, I'm pretty good about tapping into like my pain, where it's coming from and all these things, but this just like felt like it was exploding out of me, that my body couldn't contain it. And so then, like at one point, when it's like he was leading something in my stomach, then I felt this deep, like somebody had punched me, like I don't know, and I hope this has not happened to you, but when somebody like punches you, or if you can visualize somebody like a deep punch, right? And your navel just goes all the way back and you arch forwards, like, oh, and that's how my being was energetically speaking in a part of my navel. And it was all this emotional pain of my ancestors of not being seen, of not feeling loved, or like not being able to do what they love. Like, and I'm not even joking, like grandma, grandpa, great grandma, like all the way back. Like I saw them in my navel, like almost like this big explosion of energy that because of their pain, my energies in that particular area, because I had been feeling that in my personal field, that it was just like sucking the breath out of me. And I was like, holy shit, like I didn't know that this is how my energies were feeling. Because I was feeling that personally, it was tapping into the collective of my ancestral lineage, like so far back, you guys. I'm not even joking. Like I saw so many of them behind, and I felt their tears. I saw them crying. I saw them screaming. I saw them just like, when you feel so frustrated and maybe you just like scream and cry, right? Like just like that. And it was all pulling on the left side of my navel, like right by the spleen area. And it's just like it was so painful. And then at one moment they're like, this is no longer yours. You don't need to carry this. You've been helping us so much and we appreciate it. But now it's time for you to let it go. So let it go. And now this is where, oh my goodness, this is where such a beautiful thing happened because they were pushing forwards. It's almost like they knew that this energy on my navel was being like, blah, like sucked backwards, right? And they were pushing the energy forwards to be a release for me. And I can't even express how painful that was. But I knew, I was like, all right, we got this. Let's do it, right? Because I knew not only that I didn't have to carry that, but the moment that I released that is the moment that I will release the chain of suffering of them from that particular aspects of their beings, of their energies, of their life. And I was like, I can do this. We can do this. I know that I'm not doing this alone. And so they began to like push forward, and then I was like pulling it out, and my brother was holding the space doing whatever else he was doing, and it was, oh, I was screaming so loud because it was just like, and it wasn't just my scream, it was their scream. Imagine when you're pushing with your whole being, there's something in front of you that seems like so massive that how in the world could I actually push it? But I know I can, especially with the support of all these amazing beings, right? And it was like, whoa, oh my goodness. Like it was so beautifully intense. So beautifully intense. And when the last scream came through, and then I softened, it's just when my grandparents came through. Ugh, my grandparents came through, starting with my grandpa from my dad's side, and like telling me, I see you and I love you, and I always known that you were very, very special, and then seeing like my four grandparents, right, and just telling me all these wonderful things. And the only one that I actually got to experience as an adult was my mom's mom, that she passed recently, like 2 years ago. Um, but the rest, like my grandpa from my mom's side, he passed away when I was 2 years old. And my grandparents from my dad's side, like one passed away when I was like 16 or 17, and the other one a couple years after, so I didn't have like the opportunity to get to know my grandparents as an adult, to experience them and see them as like wisdom keepers of my lineage, right? because I didn't know that back then. And so there they were, the four of them, as these amazing wisdom keepers, just telling me all these things and sending me all this love and support. And it's like, yeah. And one of the things that they told me was like, and I know this might help somebody to hear this, but they said, do not worry about your parents, because when they're not in physical form, they will know exactly what you're doing. And it's almost like this gave me this permission, of like, okay, I can soften even more. And because of that release, because of that service that we did to each other, right? They did for me, I did for them, then this other wounds came up to be released out of me, right? So then the ancestral healing that happened through my being, in my being, open up also the space for this personal healing that needed to happen, with my inner child in relationship with my mother, my father, and my brother, right? To receive the love that she wanted and she needed to receive as a kid, but she didn't, right? And not out of the lack of love, but out of a lack of expressing it, right? Of expressing it and seeing it as she could see it, as she could perceive love and receive it. And it was this like beautiful realization of love, of love, because truly, honestly, for so long, I blame my parents for all this shit that was happening in me. And surely, like ancestral trauma, right? It passed through them to me. But are they the ones to be blamed for them? I don't think so. I don't think anybody's to be blamed for it. And at the same time, I mean, like my great, 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 great grandparents, probably had some of that and continue to pass forwards, right? And maybe got stronger and stronger and stronger. And am I to blame them? I mean, maybe that was passed on to them as well, right? So, like, how far back can we go? And do we really want to use our energy to blame somebody, right? Knowing that when somebody creates harm, it's because they have witnessed that, right? Maybe that happened to them. And so, the moment that we can choose, like how we get to perceive life, and we can choose also to take that stand on us, right? It's like, okay, maybe it did pass from my parents to me, right? And sure, I can choose to blame the crap out of them, right? And treat them like crappy as perhaps they treat me. Or I can choose to love them as they are and to have so much compassion, right? Not necessarily about having this conversation and telling them, because maybe they will not be receptive of that, and maybe they will not even know how to have this conversation, right? But even just telling them through our field, like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, I'm so sorry you didn't receive the love that you needed as a kid. And that's why perhaps you have all these anger issues, right? Or maybe that's why you're depressed, or maybe you're anxious and like shit, I feel for you because I've been there myself, right? And I'm done blaming these things on you. And I'm done with that. And I start to take responsibility of my own actions and my own emotions, knowing that you did the best you could with the own tools that you had. And now it's not that I'm better, but perhaps I have different tools that work best at this. And so I can do this for myself and I can do this for you. Right? You see how beautiful that is? And it shifts energy like quickly, right? And of course, it sounds super easy, right? But when you are in the shit, it's like, oh my gosh, how could I even say thank you to this person, right? It's just practice. It's just practice. And it's not about like how could I say thanks to this person? It's about me. It's about you. It's like how much longer do you want to use your energy to sabotage yourself, to feel sorry for yourself, to just like bash and bash and bash on yourself because you should have done better? It's like you did what you did with your own tools. And if these tools that you've had, and let's just call perhaps these tools of suffering, right? Of self-sabotaging, let's go. So these tools of self-sabotaging, right? That you've had for, let's say, X amount of years, like 20 years, 20 year plus, right? And then you're learning like, okay, I can start talking to myself, right? But it's not gonna happen, you know, a habit that you've been having for 20 plus years, it's not going to dissolve in a second. It's not going to dissolve in a moment that you just learn, oh, I can speak to myself and things will be better, right? And if you have, you know, that idea in your head and it doesn't happen, that is going to magnify it more, the energies of your self-sabotaging patterns, you know, it's like it doesn't work like that. And I'm going to give you an example, okay? And maybe all of you know this, right? But like I had like intense bulimia, anorexia tendencies, right? Intense for 20 plus years, honestly, on and off. And two times I almost died from that. I'm not even kidding, okay? Do you think that it was like super easy the moment that I said, I'm gonna love myself, and all of a sudden I didn't have those tendencies? No, you know, first it was a thing about like, okay, I'm not gonna do it physically, right? I'm not gonna do it physically and like restrain myself. Like, okay, you know how hard that was? I had to work very hard at restraining myself to go to the bathroom and purge. Yeah, I had to work very hard at restraining myself from taking laxatives. So I continue to release things. I had to work very hard at that, you know? Physically, mentally, energetically, like spiritually too, you know, because everything is like linked, right? And so even after I had released a tendency physically, you know, mentally, energetically, actually, then the last thing that happened for me was the mental, because then my mind was like, oh my gosh, you just ate so much. You look so fat. It's like, whoa, you know? And I will tell my mind, you know, and this is years, okay? Let me tell you that the year that I released that energetically was in 2019 when we lived in Colombia. It was either 2019 or the beginning of 2020. That's like 4 years ago, you guys, you know, of a tendency that I stopped. Uh, gosh, when I was 28, I don't know, you know? So imagine that, right? I mean, I am 38 right now. So it's like, I was 34, you know, like around 34 when I released the energetics of that, when I had stopped like around 28 or something, you know, maybe 29. It's like, it's a long time. But even the mental part was like, blah, 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 blah. And I would just like honestly be like, as if like somebody was talking to me, I would like turn around, literally, physically turn around and be like, no, no, I am not fat. I am not ugly, you know? So you know, if you believe that, go believe that somewhere else about somebody else, but not about me. So, do you know what I mean? And sure, at times I'd be like, oh my gosh, why? But then I understood the moment I understood, hey, I did this for 20 plus years, like over and over and over again in big, massive waves. How could I actually think that I'm going to release this massive thing, you know? That I'm gonna make peace with myself and love myself so deeply in a second, you know, when for like my almost my whole existence at that point, I just hated myself, you know? Like it was a journey of self-love, right? So this is what I'm saying. Like if you are working through this ancestral trauma, and let me tell you that this bulimic, anorexic, self-distorted image, it just wasn't mine, you know? It came from my lineage. It came really deeply from my lineage. So that's why it felt so intense in me, okay? And perhaps something that is happening in you is happening also so deeply intense, right? But like, you don't need to anymore, sister and brother. You don't need to anymore to just like hit yourself over and over and over again, energetically and with words. I mean, like, what's the point of that? You know? The point of that actually is telling yourself that you are worthless, you know, that you don't have solution. You're actually telling yourself that, which is absolutely not true. You know, you are so worthy and you're so powerful too. It's just again a condition in the mind, all these things that have passed to you. And at the same time, what you learn to do for yourself, right? But you also have the power to rewrite that, to rewire your system, your mind, your energetics, your physicality, right? And at the beginning, it was for me, it was so intensely hard, okay? But I didn't give up because I was like, I know I can do this. And now I know I deserve better. And I don't want to be in this space anymore. If you resonate with my story, it's so horrible. It's so horrible to just feel shitty about yourself, to love your physical body, to just want to change your physical body, to just want to destroy yourself over and over and over again. And it's so exhausting. It's like deeply exhausting. I was like, I don't want to be in that space again because I know how that feels like, and it's crappy. It's so crappy. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give it my all. And I'm gonna show this to myself that I can do it. And I did. And again, it's not like it was super simple. There was moments that I will collapse too, and I will listen to the voice. I will listen to the energetics. Even at times I will throw up again, right? And then I will be like, all right, we're gonna start again. Okay, that was very good. Maybe I went for like, I don't know, 10 months without doing this. Great. Because before it was like every day, like multiple times a day. Yeah. And that's a massive shift. And so little by little by little, right? In a marathon, you must train. You're not gonna go, you're not gonna go from no training, no running at all, to run a freaking marathon. It's like, goodness, come on. It's like this is what you're doing. This is a training, you know, of unlearning patterns. They're not helpful anymore. Maybe in some kind of shape or form they were helpful, Now you're aware. You're aware that those things happen to you, right? And maybe you're aware now that it also came from your lineage, right? And so then it's like the awareness hits, and it's like, okay, I have these two choices, right? I can choose to like do the same pattern and stay in the same like darkish corner, like telling myself all these nasty things, or I can choose another way. And know that that way is not just like a direct way. It might just go like this, right? In little waves, and that's okay. And no matter what, choose you, that you do have the power. And talking about healing ancestral trauma, so as I was saying, it's like, let's just call this X issue that you have, right? Or this X pain, right? This pain that you have, if it's like so deeply, it's like, holy cow, chances are that your ancestors are also feeling that. And also, chances are, and this is part of my experience and seeing the energetics of me and others that I've helped, that your ancestors are also helping you to put that at peace. That you're not alone in this suffering, that you're not alone. And collectively, we're holding each other through this shift. Because again, as you move through this, so do I. As I move through this, so do you. Yeah. But here the commitment is you. The commitment is you. And the more that you commit to yourself, it might be a very slow journey. Or at times you'll feel like, oh, I'm hopping so out. And then just coming back, Maybe we'll feel like that, right? Or maybe just like big step, little step, little step. Maybe it feels a little bit backwards. Who knows, right? But you're moving forwards into that direction of yourself. You're moving forwards and receiving not only the suffering of the ancestors and their trauma, but also their love, their power, their gifts. Wow, right? And because you're doing that, you tap into your own power and your own strength and your own gifts. Oh my goodness, you know? I have this thing that is like popping up in my field. So I'm going to say it. Perhaps it will like really help somebody. One of the reasons why I kept going, you know, was because I had this really deep experience. And I was like, I want to feel this. I want to feel this every single day. And that was my intention. This was even before the Kundalini energy like rose up. This was even before I meditated, even before I practiced yoga, even before I was like doing any like exercise, I think, you know? And I committed that to that. I told myself, I'm gonna feel this no matter what I do, you know? Perhaps I will try a bunch of things. I will try it all, but I will feel that way on my own every single day. And I do. And I do. And this is coming from a person that, again, had the bulimia anorexia thing for 20 plus years, on and off. The person that had massive anxiety, massive depression, and suicidal tendencies. The person that completely hated herself to the point they wanted to disappear. And now I'm here. And every day, I love myself so much. Every day, I feel that inner peace and the connectivity to it all, which is what I had felt back then. The connectivity, the oneness to everything that gave me so much peace when my world was like, rah. And I do every single day. And surely I also feel pain and suffering and cry and scream and the whole deal, right? But it doesn't take away from the fact that I feel the oneness inside of me and that deep love for myself every single day, even on the days that are pretty shitty, actually. And even in the days that are pretty shitty, it's not like I like bash myself in the head, you know? I was just like, some days are going to be super great. Some days might not be super great. Some days will be like, all right, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact that I love myself, from the fact that I am so proud of this woman that went through so much to be here. So much of her trauma, right? But so much dedication to her being her life that she made through all of that and is here recording this transmission to share this wisdom that I have learned and that I have received, you know, because I went through all of that and because I committed to myself. And again, if I can do it, you can do it. The only thing that might be stopping you from getting into that part of you is commitment. That no matter what, you will do it. No matter what, you're tired, fuck it, you're doing it. You know, you feel sad, fuck it, you're doing it. You feel angry, fuck it, you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like it takes that. That no matter what, how you are doing, you still show up. Even in the great like emotions, right? If you're blissful, you're doing it, which is actually way easier, right? To do things when you feel very good. But when you feel pretty crappy, that's when you're like, oh my gosh, right? Enough, enough. How much longer do you want to be like that? And do you actually believe that you came into this planet to have this life that is a gift from your whole ancestors, you know? And like from source to just suffer? I don't believe so. I believe that we came here to be reborn over and over and over again, to cut those chains of sufferings from ourselves and our families, which cuts the chain of pain from the whole collective. So we can be free to be who we are, to experience this life as we decide to experience it, as it feels aligned for us, not for anybody else. I believe that we have the greatest power But this power will be known to you the moment that you commit to you, the moment that you stop being a victim, the moment that you are like, enough, enough. I'm just going to go for it. And that's the moment that the whole puzzle comes through, that the whole like tiny little pieces move around so you can feel yourself and then you can be you. And by doing that, you're doing a whole service to the whole existence by you being you. What a freaking gift. Wow. Wow. I just want to sit with that just a little bit, you know? It's giving us the time to sit with like how meaningful our lives truly are. How meaningful your life is. The moment that you choose it. The moment that you choose it. And you always have that choice every single day, every single second. And it's up to you if you choose it or not. Wow. That was big. I feel my whole chest like. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And by thank you, I mean thank you for existing. Obviously, thank you for listening to the podcast, but it goes more to you. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being who you are, for being alive in this moment in time, whether I'm still here in physical form or not. Whenever you get to listen to this message, whichever year it is, whatever you are in the world, thank you for existing and being alive at this moment in time. Thank you.